We back, y'all. So in the Nolan Wells case, we have another person that's been arrested for threatening Judge Ashley. The autopsy may never be released to us. And I'm going to explain to y'all why, and I'm going to break down, and I'm going to tell y'all how it works and everything. And we might not never get that state autopsy. So let's just get right into it.
You mean to tell me that in the past 2 days, they've made 2 arrests on people who have made threats? The first one was an arrest because somebody made threats against Judge Ashley Cole. And this one is to a woman out there in Cincinnati who was calling over there to Jackson, to the sheriff's department, and making threats of tick, tick, booming. The sheriff's department, yet we don't have no type of arrest made in Nolan Wells' death. We don't have no type of information on what happened to Nolan Wells. We don't know anything about Nolan, yet we finding out about lawsuits, and we're finding out about people being arrested for making threats. Oh, y'all know what's coming next. So you mean...
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what's coming next. They finna try to cover it up. That's what's coming next. So the autopsy or whatever got sent to the grand jury. The grand jury has to look over the autopsy files to decide if they want it to be a trial and if criminal charges will be filed against somebody, even though right now, because this is what the mainstream media and the news and TMZ is not telling y'all, there's absolutely no charges right now. So the grand jury could literally open a file and be like, he drowned. But this is the problem. If it don't go to trial, the autopsy can never be unsealed to nobody. So if the grand jury say there's no trial, we'll never know what's in that autopsy. Crazy, bro.
Would-be investigators in the case of Nolan Wells have now advised that the state's medical examiner is not going to release the final autopsy report on Nolan. What does that mean? Well, to the extent that this case was being treated as a homicide has no statute of limitations, which means the state has no deadline, no rush to come to a conclusion in the investigation, to close the investigation, to forward it to a prosecutor's office. The reason why that's relevant is that they are not rushed to disclose anything. Now, how it affects us is for purposes of Freedom of Information Act requests or the further formal demands that the state release any documents. Typically, one of the few ways the state can get around that is due to the case being treated as an open investigation. As long as the case is an open investigation, the state does not have to disclose anything to anyone because it's incomplete, it's ongoing, there's certain confidentiality, privilege exceptions, protection of certain witnesses, etc. So as long as the case remains open, no one can force the state to do anything as far as disclosure. So now we're in a really tricky spot where if you want it treated as a homicide, they have all the time in the world. And to the extent you want the investigation closed, then it may fall short of certain expectations or hopes of what's being done with the case. But this is a really sticky viewpoint for those of us watching, and let's see what happens.
And this is crazy to me because I didn't even know that they could do this. And from what I'm hearing, that grand jury in Jackson County, they only meet once a month. There are other things they have to look over, maybe other cases they got to look over, maybe other stuff they got to do, which means Nolan Wells file gonna have a number on it. Those same people that gotta look at those files and make a determination of what they gonna do is already seeing how people acting on the internet. You know they gonna run it by them that Judge Ashley has been threatened numerous times and 2 people got locked up just because she's been threatened. So if they decide, well, we gonna keep down the chaos and we just not gonna release it at all and we're not even gonna go to trial, we ain't gonna never know what was in that autopsy. Now, I don't know how the family will find out because if the grand jury don't send it to the trial, the autopsy does not supposed to be open and released, not even to them. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but it just done turned into a mess, man. And some people say the grand jury could take months. Some people say it might even go up to a year. Like, who knows? You know, I don't know what's going to make them put a rush on it, but now it's like the ball is in their court, so they can do whatever they want to do. But it's a sad situation, man. I can't imagine, like, I know my child dead. I know, like, I had my child funeral, and now you telling me I still got to wait to find out what happened to my child is insane.
Mississippi has announced that the official autopsy has been completed in the case of Nolan Wells, but they don't want to release it to the public yet. Now, here's a few things that we should probably keep in mind as we wait even longer for the results of their autopsy. Number one is that we should be prepared to be gaslit. No matter what the results of the autopsy are, they are going to try to tell us that what we know is happening is not happening. That is probably why they're doing a slow rollout, because they are trying to protect somebody and something. Now, I also believe that they're probably using this time to try to meet and figure out how they can explain away things that would not make sense in any other situation. Number two, we should be prepared to hear a bunch of stories that are just smoke and mirrors. Why? Because they are trying to create reasonable doubt. If the grand jury does decide that there is enough evidence for this to move to the arrest or charge of somebody in the case of Nolan Wells, they know that when they get to trial, they're going to have to create reasonable doubt for someone or any people involved not to be sent to jail after this is over. So we should be prepared for them to start using a bunch of smoke and mirrors to try to distract us. Number three, get ready for the sob stories, like the judge Ashley Cole, who's now telling us that she's receiving unaliving threats. Whole time, it's been over 20 days since Nolan Wells' body was found on Horn Island, and they've said nothing. They chose not to cooperate. Now, I personally believe that the emergency CTO call and the judge's statement that she originally put out there with a timeline is going to be what solves the case. I do. And I think they know that too. So people are panicked, and they're all starting to flip-flop now because they know that somebody could potentially be charging this once that audio is completely clarified. So in the meantime, we need to not be distracted by smoke and mirrors. We need to not be distracted by the noise that is coming from around us and random people, like from Bad Body Built Officer, whatever his name is, and the other folks who are trying to distract us from what is really happening.
Nah. You and I both know that ain't gonna happen because there's too many people paying attention to the case. But I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't think Judge Ashley gonna be doing that much talking, seeing as how she done already got 2 people locked up and she ain't had to say a word. The problem we have now is that those people that gotta come to that grand jury and make a decision on this see the chaos online. They see. So what make y'all think that they really finna come back and say, well, Nolan, because think about it. You cannot go to trial on the premise that he drowned. So if they say it's getting took to trial, they have to say he got killed. That's the only way you could charge somebody is saying he got killed. They see how everybody going crazy right now. Why would they do that? More than likely, they gonna say, we not going to trial. The autopsy would the state autopsy would never be unsealed, and they gonna move on. And I think that's what they gonna do. It's sad, but I think that's what they gonna do. It ain't right. It's not cool. But if that's the law and they can get away with it, why wouldn't they do that? Why would they put out that he got killed so people could maybe riot? People could probably start tearing up Mississippi. People could start burning up cars and burning up businesses. Y'all think they want to go through all that? No. And Ashley ain't said a word, and she's been getting people locked up, and she a judge. Don't y'all know these? This is why I tell people all the time. See, when you breaking the law, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. Understand something. The prosecutors, the judges, sometimes even the lawyers, they all be intertwined and connected with each other. They all be knowing each other. Y'all don't think they telling them people right now, well, let's not say he got killed, because if we say that, it's going to start a mess down now. And this is all based on a grand jury. Why would I say we going to trial? The only way we can go to trial is if we say somebody killed him. But if we want to keep the town safe, if we want to keep the businesses safe, if we don't want nobody out here setting cars on fire and ruining businesses, let's just say it's not going to trial and it's over with. No autopsy, no info, no nothing to the public, nothing. And like I said, would a family get it eventually? I don't know, because they say the rule is they don't have to give it to them at all. So the mom might not never find out. The dad might not find out. And when they do, it's going to be even longer. By that time, it could be doctored up. Stuff could be took out. Stuff could be put back in. So my whole thing is this, right? Y'all feel like that they didn't send body parts for the second autopsy. Do y'all know how easy it is to change around paperwork and to make fraudulent paperwork? I used to turn my F's into A's all the time. What I've been doing this, man. Hey, look. When you give me an F on my report card, I mastered how to turn an F into an A. It ain't that hard, bruh. So, just because it's done, it's even worse now. Because now that the waiting game is finna be even longer. This is a mess, man. I feel so sorry for Nolan and his family that they got to go through all this, because it's crazy, bro.
The Jackson County Sheriff believes Nolan Wells died from an accidental drowning. The state medical examiner's office has now completed its autopsy.
Now, this was yesterday. Y'all just heard this man say they are still saying that Nolan drowned. So if you on the internet right now, listen to what this man just said. Why would the grand jury go to trial if he drowned? You only going to trial if he got killed. There is no trial if he drowned. And the man just told y'all, are they still saying he drowned? If you could trick them, you could beat them. And ain't nobody paying attention, bro. This was did less than 24 hours ago. This was like a day ago. And the man telling y'all they are still saying he drowned. Listen to it again. Listen to what he say.
The Jackson County Sheriff believes Nolan Wells died from an accidental drowning.
So what you think the Jackson County Sheriff gonna tell a grand jury? He drowned. What you think Judge Ashley gonna tell he drowned? They gonna have people that weren't even there telling them he drowned. Oh, this is a mess. This is a mess, bro.
The state medical examiner's office has now completed its autopsy, which lays out the official cause and manner of death.
The medical examiner would know that it was a drowning because the water would be in your lungs. If there's no water present, then it wasn't a drowning, it was something else.
Authorities now plan to send the autopsy findings to a grand jury, but a former Hinds County prosecutor familiar with the grand jury process believes investigators would want to submit additional information other than the autopsy so the grand jury could decide whether someone could face criminal charges in connection to Wells' death.
Maybe this is going to be a grand jury process that may take a day or a couple days, where they have people coming in to testify. All of the witnesses, who were there on that day may have seen, Nolan Wells, and they want to get their testimony, in front of the grand jury.
An independent autopsy commissioned by Wells' family found his death to be undetermined. The state crime lab didn't send Wells' throat and windpipe for the other pathologist to examine.
Of course, we heard, from Attorney Ben Crump about the throat being missing. They would look at things like that. I think if there was maybe trauma to the throat, that would say a little bit more.
The grand jury process is secret. Attorney Jasmine Davis says there's no limit for how long they could gather behind closed doors to consider any evidence. They could meet for months and in the end agree with the autopsy about how Nolan Wells died, or come up with a completely different conclusion. Ross Adams, 16 WAPT.
I heard other people say it could be years. But what I'm trying to tell y'all is, being Crump, that audio, I wouldn't even care about it. We got a bigger problem. The tides and whether the water washed his body up on the land, I wouldn't even worry about all that because we got a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the state of Mississippi autopsy might end up being sealed forever. Don't matter what you find on the audio. Don't matter what the ocean, Titanic people, whoever you said you was finna get, the same people that had to discover why the Titanic sunk. We don't need that. We don't need that right now. Y'all gotta let all that go. And being, I hate to say it, I know you trying to do the best you can, but y'all worried about the wrong stuff, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you telling me this autopsy finna go to these people and these people get to decide and rule on if I ever find out what happened to my child or not, hell no. 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 Ben, y'all got to step in, man. Y'all gotta go fix that. All that, I don't even care about the phone data stuff. I don't care about none of that. Cause y'all talking about what y'all gonna do, and the autopsy file on its way to the grand jury, and if they don't see no foul play, ain't nobody else ever in life gonna ever see it again. According to how they do things. So, man, it's a sad situation, man. Shout out to Nolan mom and his dad because they stronger than me. I couldn't do it. To me, it's been too long already. I get active quick. I ain't got time for rabbit holes and look at this video and look at this picture and this and that. I ain't doing all that, bro. For every action is a reaction. And if things take it too long, I'm going to get active. Because they don't know when they going to hit back from that grand jury. And if they decide he didn't get killed, they ain't going to never know what's in that autopsy. So, just at this point, just pray for the family, man. Everything else y'all finna hear is going to be propaganda until that grand jury speak about what's in that autopsy, and we don't even know how long that could take. That could be all the way to next year sometime. We do not know. So it's a mess, man. Send prayers up to his daddy. Send prayers up to his mama because this is a crazy situation that they're in right now. Literally. Like, I couldn't do it. It couldn't be me, bro. I don't have it in me to just sit back and be letting these people play in my face like this. You're not finna tell me that if this don't go to trial, I ain't gonna never know what happened to my child. I couldn't do it, bro. They stronger than me. Y'all get in the comment section. Check out the playlist. Let me know what y'all think, man. I'm out.